Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Divine, and today we're going to be taking a look at another money-making guide here. So what I wanted to do is, probably most of you are probably either from level 30 to 60, and you're probably starting to switch up your spec, and unfortunately, it starts to cost gold. So what I wanted to do is actually go over a guide of methods that I've used to actually earn quite a bit of gold when I need to in a rush, or, just over time. It definitely helps you out. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So a few of the different money making methods here that I want to talk about that you can use is going to be harvesting, doing the main and side quests. That's going to be like the main story and the side story quests. Those always give you really good rewards. Then you have just killing random monsters, especially after level 60. You do start to get some decent gold from even like low level monsters. So if you want to go, do like some trains of, farming those monsters, that's always a viable option. You won't get a whole lot of gold, but I mean, it ends up being a little bit. Then you can also do some corrupted breaches, and then fishing is always a good ability to gain some extra money, either from the fish fillets, the oil, or even finding treasure chests. But let's go a little bit deeper into the harvesting side of things. Alright, so before we get too deep into things, what you want to do first is actually go to your nearest trading post, whether it's going to be more Everfall or Windsward. These are going to be the two big ones that you're probably going to sell to. And what you want to go do is actually look up some herbs. So the herbs you want to look up are paprika, oregano, peppercorn, or tarragon. And what you want to know is what the value of these items are. If they're over 1 gold, then this money-making method is definitely viable. Now, if they are not over 1 gold, now this is going to be a little bit harder. You're still going to make money, but just not quite as much, and your server is probably very populated or very well harvested. So it's kind of unfortunate, but there are other options, and I'll tell you a couple other items we want to look up too. Alright, so while you're still at that trading post, the other items that you want to look up are corn, squash, barley, potatoes, carrots, cranberries, and strawberries. Now, I'll explain this in a little bit, but those other items you do want to see if they have any good value for you while you're out and about, because they are going to be easy to harvest while we're out and trying to make money. Alright, so before we get started here, what we want to do while we're in that trading post is actually go up to the perks, go all the way down to reinforced harvesting luck. Now what we're doing is actually we want to buy a full set of gear. Now this gear should run you between about 50 to 150 gold depending on the values of your trading post and your town that you choose. Like you can see here, I can buy a helmet for about 30 gold, and like I said, I think I spent around 150 gold. Mine was a little bit higher for these reinforced harvesting luck items, but it's very beneficial to have. And I would recommend just trying to find any kind of items, definitely lightweight as well, because we want to have that dodge roll and be able to run kind of fast. So those are a couple different items that you're going to want to purchase, and then also proficiency boosters, because those boosters are really going to actually help us out while we're out gathering. Alright, so before I show you the complete route, one thing I do want to mention is having Azoth attunement on your harvesting sickle and having a house or an inn set to Monarch's Bluff is going to be very beneficial to you here. Now, this isn't needed or anything like that. It just helps you be able to do this run multiple times very, very quickly and efficiently, because if you have a house in Monarch's Bluff and you have the attunement on your sickle, you will have enough to basically reset your house cooldown timer every time you complete this run. Alright, so jumping in, what we're going to do is actually go out the south gate of Monarch's Bluff, and we're just going to follow this route all the way south until we complete all of these herbs here, and we're just going to gather everything along the way. Now, this is where you need to know what items you're looking for. So things like cranberries, I was not after because they are so low cost in my world. It wasn't worth the time to actually gather them, but if they are worth, a decent chunk of money for you, this is something you may want to adjust while you're doing this path. Alright, so I know a lot of you guys probably don't actually like looking at map views, you want to see gameplay, so I just did a quick sped up clip of me actually doing this first part of the run, and you can actually see all the different herbs along the way. Now, when you're done with this part of the herb run, now you could keep doing just this herb run if you want to, but you should have about 20 peppercorn, 20 paprika, and about 20 oregano. This can all vary, just depending on how much you've found, but that's kind of where you would be sitting at. Alright, so moving back into normal mode here, what we're going to do is actually come over to this cliff, and you can actually see these rock formations that you can actually easily climb up on. Now, this area is pretty awesome because while you're in between gathering and harvesting, you can see that iron node right there. There's actually a couple along this whole ridge right here, and the ridge is not very big, but it can yield you some pretty decent iron. And then also up here, you're going to be able to find some turkeys and elk along the way. So let's flip back to the map here, and then I'll show you where we're going to go next. Alright, so where I left off here is where we're along the ridge here, and what we're doing is heading east, and we're picking up the corn, and then we're also getting the herbs and the strawberries. Now, the strawberries are vital, and that's kind of what I was after on my server, just because they were worth so much. Now, this next part you can skip, but I head a little bit north and east, and then I'm going to go for the carrots and the barley over here, and then I'll head south and actually get the broccoli. Now, this area for broccoli has a great deal of broccoli, which is pretty awesome. And then from there, I'm actually just going to head east. Now, if you really need to get like seeping stone or anything like that, which can actually have a pretty good value, you can get that along the way. If not, you're just going to head east all the way into these farms over here. Now, you can head a little bit south, hit that farm for the carrots and everything, which I typically do, and then I head straight east all the way to the south portion of where those strawberries are going to hit. Then I'll head north, get those strawberries, and then you head a little bit northeast and grab those strawberries, and then all the way east and just end up at Windsward. And that's kind of a typical run for me. Now, just like last time, even though we've already shown you where I was on the map, what I wanted to do is actually just show you a little bit of sped up gameplay of me actually completing the same run. Now, I didn't go all the way fully south to that farm, but we hit most of the other ones in maybe just a little bit different of an order. During this clip of recording, I actually was still trying to find the best rhythm for this whole run, and I feel like that's kind of what I've shown you on the map side of things, but it's still good to see, you know, gameplay wise of where we went and everything like that. And like I said, this is all going to be dependent on you guys. Now, it's going to be dependent on your server and what your trading post values are for these certain items, of which items you're going to really be searching out for. So like I said, for me, it was strawberries, corn, carrots, things like that. I was gathering also some arcana stuff along the way, just because, you know, it was pretty easy to grab. But really, it's all about those strawberries, and the barley honestly started to be worth quite a bit. So that's kind of where I switched up some things. And then we're coming up right to the end where you can get one last strawberry and one last herb right before you hit Windsward. So before I continue anything else, I do want to mention that I use the bow in my setup here, and with light armor, I use dodge and weave, which after a dodge, you gain 10% haste for 2 seconds. Now, on top of your stamina regen, you can basically keep this going non-stop as long as you time it, you know, kind of right. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but you will definitely get a really nice boost in speed along the way, which can really help you with this run. And typically I can complete it between 15 and 18 minutes. Alright, so moving on to actually selling items. Now, there's a few things you guys should know for tips wise, and the first is going to be post your orders for only 1 day, and then the next would be to sell items less than 50 in bulk. Typically, I find that over 50, it's really hard to sell everything in one shot, so I typically try to range it around between 20 and 30. I feel like it's the ideal number. And one thing to note with this is if your items haven't sold within a first couple of hours, you might as well just cancel the auctions sometimes. Or you can actually take a look and see where your order is placed. But I found that I could just cancel the order because my order would be typically so far down the list that I just got priced out, and I know my items wouldn't sell within the rest of the day. But typically I have found that a lot of them have, you know, sold by then, but I'll just pull the rest out when I do another run and then just sell all those together again. But I mean, it depends on how many runs you're doing. So I like to do between 2 and 3, and then I'll go sell everything that I got. But it's up to you. Also, make sure that you are aware that you are selling in different towns for different profits. So I would take most of these herbs that you get and go to Everfall because they're not common in that area, and they'll typically get you more money. And that being a more centralized hub, I find in most servers that's probably going to get you the best value. Now, some servers it might be Winsbird. It really is server dependent, so I definitely recommend you guys go shopping around. But honestly, that's really all there is to this run. You can use it to level, you can use it to make money. It's honestly the perfect run that I have found so far. And one additional thing I do want to say though, I did mention the oil. So things like oil, if you are getting hides, iron ore, things like that, I would definitely recommend taking those to other towns as well. Now, oil can be actually pretty beneficial in some of the like more remote towns, maybe like in Morningdale or Reekwater, things like that where it's not easily mined. People are just doing town board missions along with their faction missions or just side stories, stuff like that. It can be pretty beneficial. You can price them, you know, decently high and make some decent profit. The only downside is actually having to travel to those towns yourself to go sell that stuff, but it's just another thing to think about. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you found a few tips that you can use and hopefully you can utilize this strategy to make yourself some decent money. I would recommend you look in some chests for the possibility of chance of getting recipes as well, but if you like this video, think about giving it a thumbs up, and if you like my content, think about subscribing to the channel. I will be putting out more videos hopefully soon and possibly live streaming a little bit more often coming up, so just be aware of that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.